We're well into a new month, as February has been flying by lately, and on this channel that means it's time to unleash another installment in my mock draft series. I publish one NBA mock draft every month leading up to the real draft, because even though the projections can change a ton between now and the main event, it's important to monitor how every prospect is performing, and as new information presents itself, update accordingly. The order used in this mock draft is based on the current NBA standings, and we will be going through the full lottery as well, so buckle in for that. Before we start though, I'm happy to say that I'm teaming up with DraftKings to give all new customers a winning offer. All you have to do is sign up for DraftKings using the link down in the description of this video, and then use my promo code hoopsreference when you sign up, and when you do all of that, all you have to do is put down at least $5 on any pre-game money line for any basketball game, and if your play hits, you receive an additional $150 in bonus bets. You heard that correctly. Putting down just $5 on any pre-game basketball money line can win you $150 in bonus bets if it hits. Now, if you're wondering what to do with all of that bonus cash, you can try out some same-game parlays where you combine multiple legs from the same game for even more winnings, or if the sportsbook is not yet available in your state, don't worry, because you can still get in on the fun by playing DraftKings Daily Fantasy as well. So what are you waiting for? Go check out all of this excitement using the link down below to sign up, and then use my promo code hoopsreference to take advantage of this exciting offer. Now, with that being said, let's get back to the video. Starting things off with the first pick in the draft, the Houston Rockets select Victor Wembanyama from France. I'm going to let you all in a little secret. Wembanyama is going to be the first name off the board this year, and there's virtually nothing that can change that fact between now and June. He's one of the most unique and tantalizing prospects the NBA has ever seen, and every single rebuilding team is praying to hear their team's name called on lottery night as the winners of the first overall pick. Right now, the Rockets have the worst record, and they could absolutely use his talents to turn their franchise around, because they have a lot of holes to address, and Wembanyama could plug quite a few of them. Next up, with the second pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Scoot Henderson from G League Ignite. Just like Wembanyama seems to be a lock for the top spot in the draft, Henderson seems as sure of a thing at number 2 in this year's draft as well. Henderson has all of the makings of a future star guard in the league, and after having played 2 seasons down in the G League against professional competition, he's arguably the most experienced teenage American prospect we've seen. He's got the explosive athleticism of guys like Ja Morant, and he has a crisp handle and reliable pull-up jumper to keep defenses on their toes, and with all of that put together, he'll be a nightmare for defenses to guard for years to come. Up next, with the third pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cason Thompson from Overtime Elite. The top 2 are pretty set in stone, but after that is when some questions start to arise. Cason is the highest upside prospect after those 2, and while I mentioned that Scoot Henderson was an otherworldly athlete, Cason Thompson is actually even more impressive in that regard. His explosiveness is second to none at the next level, as he flies up and down the court, and on top of that, he's a crafty finisher and an impressive passer, so he projects as a lead guard with good size and versatility. He does need to improve as an outside shooter, but otherwise there's a lot to like with him. Next, with the fourth pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Brandon Miller from Alabama. Miller began the year as a pleasant surprise rising up draft boards, but the question everyone asked at the time was whether or not his production would be sustainable or if it would fall off. Well, with only a few weeks left in the season, the answer to that is that he's the real deal, and as a result, he's solidifying himself as a top 5 guy in this class. He's putting up about 19 points per game, he's shooting a lights-out 43% from 3, he's got such a smooth stroke, and he's a confident shooter, both shooting by spotting up and by creating off the dribble, and on defense, he's a lengthy and versatile player, making him an ideal two-way wing at the next level, which is something that the Charlotte Hornets could desperately use. Next up at number 5, the Orlando Magic select Cam Whitmore from Villanova. Whitmore started the season recovering from an injury, so he began the year off slowly, but as time has gone on, he's gotten back to full strength, and he's unleashed every part of his game that makes him a top-tier lottery prospect. He's a powerful athlete with tremendous strength for a wing player, he has impressive body control around the basket, he's shown signs of potential as a shot creator off the dribble, and defensively, he can defend multiple different positions and grab some rebounds. He's a bit streaky as a perimeter shooter right now, but he has a good-looking stroke that NBA teams will be able to tap into, plus his efficiency has improved over the course of the season. Up next at number 6, the Indiana Pacers select Gradey Dick from Kansas. Dick very well may be the best shooter in this entire draft class, as not only is he knocking down 43% of his threes on a high volume of attempts, but at 6'8", he also poses as a dangerous shot creator off the dribble, so he keeps defenses on their toes. He's capable of knocking down jumpers off the dribble, finishing well at the basket, and getting out in transition, and for a Pacers team that likes to run the break and shoot a ton of threes, he would fit in very well alongside Tyrese Haliburton and Benedict Mathurin. Next, with the 7th pick, the New Orleans Pelicans, who own the Lakers pick, select Nick Smith Jr. from Arkansas. Smith came into the year projected to be a top 5 prospect, but his freshman season hasn't gone quite to plan. Unfortunately, injuries have held him out of most of the year, so we've barely been able to see him string together more than a few games in a row, but he just returned for the team's last game from that injury, and going into March, this is a big period for him to remind everybody what he can do, because he's someone capable of scoring and dishing the rock at a high level, but in order to shoot back up the draft boards, he's going to have to show it, and there's no better place to do so than March Madness. Next, with the 8th pick, the Orlando Magic, who own the Bulls pick, select Ausar Thompson from Overtime Elite. Ausar is Amon's twin brother who possesses a lot of the same qualities as his brother who we discussed earlier in this video, but the difference between the two is that Ausar is more of a wing scorer and doesn't quite have the court vision or passing ability that his brother does. Regardless, he's still an incredibly explosive athlete with the physical tools that NBA teams love, so he should hear his name called in the top 10. Up next, with the 9th pick, the Washington Wizards select Cason Wallace from Kentucky. Wallace is the ultimate competitor, as he's one of the best perimeter defenders available this year, on top of being an incredibly efficient scoring threat on offense, knocking down 48% of his shots and 39% of his threes. If there's one thing the Wizards need, it's a point guard, and even more specifically, they need help defensively, so combined, this is a match made in heaven for them. Next up, with the 10th pick, the Toronto Raptors select Jarace Walker from Houston. If there's one thing we know the Raptors love in draft prospects, it's defensive versatility, long wingspans, and promising upside, and Walker seems like he was born to be a Raptor. He's a 6'8" forward with a 7'2" wingspan, he's an unbelievable defensive prospect, and offensively, he's just had a few 20-point outbursts, showing off his touch inside and out as both a finisher around the basket and as a three-point shooter who is making 40% of his shots from deep this year. Next up, with the 11th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Keyonte George from Baylor. George is one of the most naturally gifted scoring talents in the class, and he's as pure of a scorer as it gets. He's got plenty of moves at his disposal to create offense, but he's been as streaky as it gets in terms of his on games versus his off games, as he's scored in single digits as often as he's gone off for 20 or more points. The Thunder could use more scoring threats alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander though, so I think it's worth the risk for them here. Next, with the 12th pick, the Portland Trail Blazers select Anthony Black from Arkansas. Black has the skill set of a point forward type of player as a wing with impressive passing and playmaking talent who gives you fairly balanced production across the board. He may not be the most advanced scorer, but he does a lot of little things that help you win basketball games, and at the end of the lottery, you definitely take that. Next, with the 13th pick, the Utah Jazz select Jett Howard from Michigan. Howard is a big-bodied forward who shoots the lights out, and that's a skill set NBA teams always look for. He's 6'8" and comfortably rises up and makes shots over contests of defenders, which is the good part of his game, but he does have to show a more willingness to defend to solidify himself in this range. And finally, with the last pick in the lottery, the Golden State Warriors select Dariq Whitehead from Duke. Whitehead has been working his way back from an injury this year and started the year slowly, which made scouts a bit hesitant because the explosiveness he showed in high school wasn't quite there early on, but as the season has progressed, he has steadily improved, and that's a trend that scouts can get behind. He's also been shooting the ball well from deep lately, which is something that can definitely help his draft status. And again, if Duke can make some noise in March, he'll solidify himself in the lottery with the talent that he has. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you're excited about in this draft class. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.